Hello and welcome to this edition of Political Smackdown. I'm Betsy Wells, your host, and it's so good to be back. I've had to be absent for a family member that needed my help in Wilmington who was sick, but I really appreciated Roger Harris filling in for me while I was gone. Well, gentlemen, I missed you all. It's good to be back on the show, and thank you to the citizens watching. But thank you for letting us be into your homes this next 30 minutes, and may you learn something, may you have a laugh or two, but we'll just get started. We are taping today on Friday, February the 13th, which is my wedding anniversary, by the way. And early voting opened yesterday, February the 12th, for the March 3rd primary. The Democrats don't have a county primary except for the U.S. Congress, but the Republicans do. Voters have two polling sites, one in Upper Shelby and one in Kings Mountain. Usually many voters turn out on opening day. How did it go yesterday? Mike, start us.
Well, Betsy, far be it from me to correct a Democrat, but you do have a Senate primary.
We do, that's true.
You do have one appeals court primary.
An appeals court.
And you got three people that want to be beat by Tim Moore in November.
Well, we don't have as many.
But you don't have a local one. You're right about that.
One.
Okay. Well, the hottest three races in Cleveland County, I think, and just setting the Senate race and the judge races aside, the local ones, is House 110 between Caroline Eason and incumbent Kelly Hastings. Obviously 7-2 on the commissioners and 9 for 4 seats on the school board. Of these, and I'm going to be careful what I say here, the school board is not just, Andy, the most competitive. Seems to me that there are two factions we all know on the school board, and maybe we have a couple of candidates that don't fit within either faction, but it's a bit nasty in the school board race.
You think?
A bit.
And on social media, we can see this in the two wings, and one candidate has even gotten a Charlotte law firm to write 2 cease and desist letters to a local blogger and another person who has been critical on his blog or social media or emails of that candidate. Well, we all know that the bar is very high to prove a defamation of character of public figures. I don't know whether a court case is coming or not, but it's all very much in the public eye for anybody who wants to go and find it on social media, or even a press release was printed in our newest local media outlet, the Shelby Independent. So, but I just point out, I don't know who's going to win the school board. It's awful competitive. 7 for 2 commissioner seats is also competitive, I think, especially for the second seat. The first day of early voting, there were around maybe 400 people in Kings Mountain and Shelby combined. It was around 200 in Shelby, about 5 with a couple and a half hours, so probably 300 and something, but we were unable to get any statistics before the show today. But I'll just say this in ending. House 110 between Caroline Eason, the newcomer, and our longtime, I believe, 16-year incumbent, Kelly Hastings, appears to me to be more competitive than I would have bet last summer and fall that it would be. The young woman is young, she's a pharmacist, she's conservative in every way that I can see, but she is running against an incumbent who is established, and I've gotten 2 pieces of mail from Ms. Eason already, which is unusual for a first-timer, but I don't know how that will all work out, but we'll wait and see. If I have a prediction, I'll wait a couple weeks and see what happens during early voting. That's what's going on so far, Betsy, that I'm aware of.
Andy?
Well, what you were saying about that House 110 has got nasty. Just look on Facebook. Good night, nurse. Kelly has just pinned this girl's ears back numerous times about stuff. I mean, and he's not being very kind about the way he's doing it. Now, I don't know exactly what this lady's other than I do know her father owns 2 or 3 drug stores and is a pharmacist, same as she is. And she announced, if I remember correctly, Kelly had already announced that he was not going to seek re-election. And she came out, I think she's just under the impression that it was going to be an open seat. Well, I think she decided that she'd already gone too far into it and decided, well, let's throw it against the wall, see if it sticks or not, getting elected. So if Signs won an election, Wes, she'd win because she has got signs everywhere. I was over in Gaston County around Cherville up that way this week. She's got signs everywhere up there. And in the upper end of Cleveland County, it's just unbelievable. But Mike was also talking about the lawsuit and school board. Must be something in the water because in Gaston County, the sheriff is suing the guy running against him, saying that I guess he hurt his feelings. And and he was accused of using tax dollars for his campaign or something along that effect. So I don't know. I would just say to folks, if you're going to get in politics, just get a thick skin, because there are going to be some people who are going to say some nasty things. And I used to listen coming back from probably Tim Moore when he ran against me. He bought some time on WBT drive time, AM. I would turn it on at 3 o'clock coming through Charlotte just to hear my name. So once you've had your name blasted out on 100,000 watts.
Were you a tax and spend kind of guy?
I believe I was. That's what the accusation was. I guess I'm kind of like the sheriff. I can't help it. So anyway, that's pretty much that highlights of what's going on, Betsy. But I just never have thought I would see a time in politics people would just get their feelings hurt repeatedly, and it's just part and parcel. If you look at the history of elections, at least we don't have anybody taking a cane and beating each other to death with.
And this time, usually when we think about opposition and ugly things being said, it's party against party. But not this time. They're all Republicans. Wes, what have you got to add to this conversation?
I just reiterate, there's some pretty strong accusations that have been thrown out, and that puts people on the defensive, and some have been very defensive in that. Mike, I was by the Shelby site on Marion Street right after you were.
For early voting.
For early voting. It looked like about 200 there, roughly at 5 o'clock. But I tell you what, coming down Marion Street below my house and pulling in, it looked like a sign printer's paradise. I thought I was in heaven. But at least one school board candidate, Betsy, you may be happy to know, is advertising for the AFL-CIO. I'm not quite sure how that's going to play out in Cleveland County. I guess we'll see. But as usual, Mike, I'll be voting on Election Day, not early.
Well, before we leave that, Betsy, can I say one more thing about 110? You
go
said
ahead.
Kelly was being pretty direct at Miss Eason. Well, Miss Eason has shown last 3 years of Kelly's voting record in which he was not present about 20% of the time, and Kelly has defended that at least in the last 2 years due to family illnesses and his own health issues. But the young lady has not been afraid to throw it at him either.
No.
They've both been aggressive.
They've both been pretty good. And I'll tell you, last Saturday afternoon, 6 days ago as we taped, Patty and I were talking, petting the dog, had a basketball game probably in the background, some college game, and the doorbell rang. I went to the door, and it was Caroline Eason with the card asking for my vote.
She's doing what it takes to be competitive.
Well, she is.
And I told her, Andy, she was doing the Tim Moore retail
Tim Moore.
politicking.
Yep.
We remember that, don't we, Andy?
Oh, yes, and he's still doing it.
And again, remember that the election site in Shelby is the new site. It's up 827 West Marion Street. If you go over to the old election board, they're not there. And so you'll have more room to park. And that's the site, and they're open from, if you'll notice, 8:30 to 7:30, Monday through Friday, until we get down to the last Saturday. And that will be open until 3 that day.
It's where the rescue squad used to be,
Shelby
right in front of Shelby City Park.
And across from the library.
And across from the library. All right, well, moving on. Super Bowl 60 came and went. There was much hype given to the selection of Bad Bunny. the Puerto Rican rapper. And there he is, and you saw, this is a shot from the show, and the billboard that said the only thing more powerful than hate is love. But as soon as Bad Bunny was publicized, people began to get upset. He said he was going to do it in Spanish. I watched the game with my son. I've probably not missed over 2 or 3 Super Bowls. And I always look forward to what the halftime show is and how they put together that show and the amount of time they had to set up and tear down and do the game was amazing. Now, did it live up to its hype? You know, there was a second show at Kid Rock. If you didn't want to watch Bad Bunny speak in Spanish and sing and rap in Spanish, you could always go to the Kid Rock show. But Andy, what do you think? Did you see the show?
No.
Well, I think, am I the only one?
I mean, you got to take a break sometime in there and go to the bathroom and get you something to eat.
It is a short time.
Yeah, and I just didn't have an interest. I know that he is probably one of the biggest musical stars right now anywhere. He's won all these Grammys. He's one of the most streamed artists on Apple iTunes. So, I mean, you look at all that, but I just didn't have an interest in it. And I sure didn't have any interest in Kid Rock switching over to watch him. So I just went to the bathroom, got something to eat, and
came back for the game.
As my daddy would say, I synchronized my eyeballs for the second half. But I'm going to tell you, that was, the game itself was unbelievable. I never would have thought
Me either.
that New England and Drake May, I mean, our own North Carolina boy, and he did the best he could, I think, as a second-year quarterback. But this was the big show, and it was a defensive game from beginning to end. And I would. You know, I know the players especially Seattle liked it was such a big blowout because it was a whole lot more than the score showed. Yeah. And people did, but you know, everybody. The Super Bowl is probably one of the last things in this day and age of cable and satellite TV that the majority of Americans are going to watch at the same time. It's one of the last ones.
Okay, all right, Wes.
You sure?
Did you watch it?
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
I did, at least the first half of the game. I think things like the World Series and the Super Bowl, you know, Betsy, that used to bring us together as a country. It was something special. This one didn't, and Andy, it wasn't just because it was a bad game. We even had to have 2 halftime shows. Pro football is a lost cause, and the NCAA is following quickly with college football, but that's a topic for another day. Kid Rock was not a good look for Turning Point, or is that right? Turning Point,
Yeah.
Is that what they're called? Yeah. I have no idea what they were thinking. The lip syncing was horrible. Whatever excuse he's using this week. The opening guitar performance I thought was pretty interesting, but Betsy, it seems like everybody forgot about the backlash that Jimi Hendrix got when he did the same thing at Woodstock.
How times change.
I was really disappointed with the Turning Point. I'm not even sure what their purpose was. And I'm obviously not cultured enough to appreciate Bad Bunny's talent, if that's what it was. It certainly can't compare to a McCartney, a Jackson, or a Prince.
Or Aerosmith when they were there. They were great.
Andy, I spent the first few minutes of halftime pressing 1 to get English, but it just didn't work. When I read the transcript, Betsy, I was appalled. At the end of the performance, he seemed to equate all of the New World, even Cuba, with the United States. But from what I can tell, he left out our friends in Canada. I wonder why. But given his previous statements, I thought the show was rather apolitical. Good for him. And Andy, I've got to give him credit. I think Bad Bunny carried the football for more yards than the entire Patriot offense.
I cannot argue that.
But the NFL got what they wanted, fairly high viewership. Of course, Mike, train wrecks get high viewership too.
All right, Mike.
Well, I don't have a lot to add. I think Super Bowl halftime shows are too long. I'm for the 15.
Like my diatribes?
I'm for the 15-minute halftime and go back to play the second half of the game instead of taking 4.5 hours to play the Super Bowl. But anyway, I didn't watch it. I couldn't understand Spanish, but I couldn't understand the English that Kid Rock was doing when I turned over to it either. And I just don't like music. I cannot understand the lyrics.
I agree.
And so, you know, some people are saying on the right that Bad Bunny just proved that woke is not dead. I don't know. I didn't listen, hadn't paid enough attention, but I'm ready to move on. I'm glad the Super Bowl's over, and it was a horrible Super Bowl anyway because it was all one-sided.
Well, and I think the NFL wants to expand its viewership in Latino countries, and I think that at one time, and you know, it may be a slap at President Trump, but we've talked for the first part of the show, and now we need to go to a commercial. Come back and view the rest of Political Smackdown after these words.
Want change? Like things the way they are? Use your rights and vote. Take a stand for your beliefs. Why wouldn't you vote? Don't make excuses. It's not every day you can take a stand on community, state, and national issues. Think your vote won't change anything? In 2008, only 3,632 votes separated the presidential race in the state of Missouri. 3,632. Every vote counts. Speak up. Only you can silence your voice. Go to your local polling place and be heard on this election day.
Welcome back to this edition of Political Smackdown. As we finish up with Bad Bunny and the Super Bowl, we'll move on to something that was in the spotlight this week. Again in the spotlight is the lack of full cooperation from the Justice Department for the total release of the Epstein file documents. Pam Bondi, U.S. Attorney General, was before the House Judiciary Committee this week to explain her reluctance to comply with the congressional mandate for releasing all of the documents. Her behavior could be categorized, as one journalist says, as a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Nice to the Republicans, insulting to the Democrats. Several survivors of the Epstein sexual abuse were there by Bondi, but Bondi refused to even turn around and look at them. Her behavior at the hearing was designed just to please President Trump. Wes, start us off.
Well, Betsy, the Dow's over 50,000. What's your point?
I know, we should just look at that and go on.
Listen, these hearings are a show. They're put on by both sides. They're a show just as big as the halftime show at the Super Bowl. One side tries to gotcha the other side, and it doesn't matter what party's in control or what party is being represented on the floor there that's being questioned. They're trying to have these gotcha moments made for TV, though I granted Bondi took this to a little bit higher level.
Or a lower level.
Or a lower level. But the fact is, the Epstein files have been a joke for two administrations, or the handling of the Epstein files have been a joke for two administrations now, and they're going to continue to be for some time.
All right, Andy?
Well, when it gets down to it, the reason why everybody wants to talk about it is because it involves sex. The more salacious something is, I did that just for you, Wes. I mean, and let's face it, that's really why everybody is so interested in this. They want to see who was doing what with who and how they did it and what was up. I mean, that's what this is all about. And I mean, and it makes for whatever.
You have a very creative mind.
Well, no, I just see it.
Seems sort of one track there, Mike.
Well, no, I'm just saying, but really, that's the only reason. It's just like you go back with Clinton and all his trials he went through. It all revolved back around sex, and people understand that, and it's salacious and it's interesting to them, and they want to know what's going on, and that's what this is. The shameful part of this is there was underage girls that were basically trafficked.
Yeah.
And
abused.
I mean, you've already seen Prince Andrew in England is no longer a prince anymore. I mean, because he's been busted by it. And who knows how many others. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's really no telling. And I mean, I'll give the president benefit of a doubt on this one. I've never I don't know that he was involved with underage girls. I mean, that's
So there's certainly no indication by what's
that's
been
not.
released.
I don't think anybody has really found anything, but these other people have. I think they should be. It's been amazing to me. The guy that's heading up the Los Angeles Olympics has got his name drug into it now. They haven't done anything with him yet. But it's just sad that with all the problems our country and world has, this is eat up all the bandwidth out there. And it really is, and I hate that. I mean, because I really think government should be about doing the work of the people.
But Andy, don't you think that these women deserve a day in court?
They
and
do.
deserve, and the abuse that they suffered, even to the point that one of them committed suicide after she wrote the book.
I agree. I mean, I
and
don't
even
have
though
a-
we can, think that we can jest about it and laugh about it, it's still a very serious thing.
Oh, it is.
and Gandhi would not even turn around and look at those women.
And-
as
But
they
now,
stood.
in fairness, she was asked to do that after she apologized for the handling. Then she was asked to turn around and look at him and apologize again.
But my point, though, Betsy, is not that they shouldn't be done. It's the manner in which it's being done. Those ladies deserve their day in court.
And
There
they don't
is no
deserve
doubt.
their names
Absolutely.
to be out to the public.
No,
While
they-
they redact and mark out all
I
those men's
agree.
names.
I agree. But you got to remember, they're feeding the beast. And
All
that's
right.
pretty much what this is.
Well, Mike, what do you think?
Well, as far as these hearings, as Wes alluded to, the minority party, when you have an executive branch, is always going to play gotcha on each side. Republicans have done it when Obama and Biden were in there.
Absolutely.
Democrats do it with all of Trump's appointees. They have to protect some things at the Justice Department, I think, by law. And you keep getting more and more of it dribbled out. I hate that it's going on. I don't disagree that underage trafficking of young females is a terrible, terrible thing, and they deserve a day. But I think it's pretty much just the way things go in Washington, regardless.
But, you've got, it's not only Democrats that are asking for the truth, it's also
there's
some
Republicans.
Some
Republicans.
Oh,
Republicans.
yes.
But the one thing that really bothers me when you look at these hearings now is that they have to, the Trump appointees, the whole purpose of being there is to please Trump. And he does not have any decorum. He will lie. He will call people names. He started that when he started running for office. And it has descended into something that used to you could go and you could look at the hearings in Washington, and they may be trying to do gotchas and trying to give different points of view or trying to bring out different things. But there was more of a respect and manners. But no, now it was a hollering match when she would not answer the questions and wanted to divert from what was being asked of her by talking about the Dow.
That's no different when
But-
it's been the opposite party.
But not the screaming and yelling and calling
Yes,
and
I've heard it.
insulting, calling each. She had a list that her office had prepared of negative things to say to each of these Democrats, calling, bad lawyer, insulting. You can't get elected again. And the Republican that voted to have the Epstein files released, she really went after. So no, she's going to go down in history as the worst attorney general. Her Department of Justice is the most corrupt, and the only thing she's there for is to please Trump and go after the ones that have been, quote, his enemies. And ask Rudy Giuliani, how that pays off whenever Trump decides to move on away from
Betsy,
the supporter.
here's the thing of this. Those women are the ones that are falling through the cracks on all
They are,
this.
totally.
And that's what disturbs me as much as anything.
That's the shame of it all.
It is.
It
It
is.
is the shame. Well, I'm sure this is not going away, and whether it's about sex or whether, and I saw as I came in or heard on the news how one of the top lawyers at Goldman Sachs today has resigned from his position and multi-million-dollar salary because his name has been surfaced. All right, well, we're going to move on to something else. The Olympic Games opened this week in Milan, Italy. They run February the 6th through February the 22nd. I look forward to seeing the athletes around the world competing in these winter sports. It's thrilling to watch the men and women perform, hoping to win medals representing their countries on the world stage. People have their favorite events in the game. I love the figure skating events. What about the rest of you? Andy, what about you?
I'm going to tell you, I like curling. I mean, any sport that you can play and drink a beer at the same time is great.
All right, Wes.
Yeah, I hate to burst your bubble, but I could care less about any of it. It seems like the major event, whether it's the Summer Olympics or the Winter Olympics, is the sport of politicians. It's called fleece the public. Even though less money was spent on these games than some previous games, Standard & Poor's estimates the total cost of the Olympics around $7 billion, well over the initial budget. Even with that, the CEO of the games said, "You will not find in these games everything we originally wanted to have." And Mike, of course, not to be left out, the municipalities within 30 kilometers of the venues are authorized to increase tourist taxes for a whole year.
All right, Mike.
In the interest of getting the lightning round, I'll pass.
Okay. All right, well, all right, let's move on now to lightning round. Mike, let's start with you.
Well, when you're comparing local budgets from year over year, you need to learn how to compare apples with apples. As relates to the Cleveland County budget in this campaign cycle, it's been noted on social media by one candidate that their budget has grown 89 or 90% from 128 million to 240 million in the last 3 years, third year being the one we're in. Looking at just gross amounts of budgets is misleading. In those 3 years, much of this increase is temporary and comes from major grants from the state of North Carolina for the Justice Center. That's the biggest one, and there are others. You have to compare increase in property tax revenue, sales tax revenue, and expenses, and not make the grants that are one-time money a part of the increase. It's not comparing apples to apples, that's apples to oranges. So don't take everything you read on social media about this election cycle for granted.
Okay, all right. Andy?
Well, today is Friday the 13th, and earlier this morning, NASA launched a new crew going up to the International Space Station. This is the first time that they have ever launched on Friday the 13th. They are a superstitious bunch of people, just like the Navy people are. Nothing more superstitious than a sailor. And same thing in the space community. So everything's going good. It's a great thing that they're all getting over this kind of bad superstitious stuff.
All right, Wes?
Well, quickly, speaking of the Super Bowl, every player on the winning team received a bonus of $178,000. California's got what they call a jock tax in place. So Sam Darnold, who won the Super Bowl, his taxes are $249,000. In other words, it cost him $71,000 for the privilege of playing in the Super Bowl in California.
Wow. And mine is that in New Orleans, there's a couple that went in their backyard and found a 2,000-year-old Roman Italian tombstone. That's our show, and hope you'll be back with us next week for a Political Smackdown.